People coming to Japan and acting like this is crazy to me. Seriously, have some sense. This is footage from the Gion district of Japan's former capital, Kyoto. It's been getting some buzz online as of late. In fact, numerous videos of tourists acting a fool online have been plastered all over Japanese media, and the general sentiment between tourists and natives is getting contentious. I mean, look at this poorly behaved tourist embarrassing himself at Yasuka Shrine. Would this make you want more foreigners coming to your city or your country? Probably not. And look at how these tourists are treating these blooming sakura trees. Shaking down sakura trees is not cool. I can't believe I have to say that, but it's blatant disrespect to the culture. The same kind of goes for that bell situation. You're violently shaking a bell that's a symbol of Japan's history and pride. Also, it was well past the permitted hours for shaking it anyways. It's only natural that this would end up on Japanese television. Kyoto is rich with history and traditional Japanese culture, and the geisha are an important part of that cultural spirit. Being women trained in performing arts such as dance, music, and singing, they're treated with the utmost respect, except by foreign tourists. With reports of visitors chasing them around with cameras, tugging at their kimonos, and pulling out their hair ornaments, to the geisha, each new visitor is like a potential nuisance. Local authorities had to instill a no-photo policy to ensure geisha could go about their business. But Kyoto has been facing an over-tourism problem, bringing in a record-breaking number of 32 million overnight guests last year. And the city also has a lot of overlap between tourist destinations and areas where normal people live their regular lives. As a result, stronger measures had to be taken, and authorities banned tourists from certain private sections of the geisha district, Gion, with fines up to 10,000 yen for trespassers. So, because some people couldn't act right, you and I have to suffer the consequences. It's not just extreme cases that are upsetting locals though. The etiquette of foreign tourists on buses and trains is also something they're upset about. I can't stand when people come to Japan and act like they own the place. But I don't know if these two things are the same problem. If I'm tired and I've been traveling all day and, I get into a train and maybe I'm taking like a little too much space up with my bags, I'm sorry that what I'm doing is frowned upon, but I'm not doing anything mean-spirited. This isn't meant as an act of disrespect. Whereas, say people, following the geisha around, that is just blatant disrespect to the culture. The sheer amount of tourists is also causing Kyoto residents plenty of problems as is. Many locals have to wait until 3 or 4 packed buses pass before they can finally get on. And that's because there are so many culturally significant sites, yet there are only so many buses and trains to get people from place to place. And all those travelers need somewhere to put their trash. With a limited number of public garbage cans, the increasing number of tourists is putting severe strain on the city's infrastructure. Public anger is so high that it helped elect Kyoto's new mayor, whose campaign pledged to fight against the excesses of tourism, with the administration considering increased pricing for travel during peak hours and to popular tourist sites. And if these problems don't get fixed, I'm afraid Kyoto might become a place where citizens don't want foreigners to come anymore. Like in Europe, where some protests have erupted in popular tourist destinations. And that's particularly concerning for foreigners living in the country. And the thing is, the Japanese media isn't helping. They don't have to air all this footage I've shown you, all of which has come out in the past few weeks, by the way. Are there really that many poorly behaved foreign tourists? Or are they just good for ratings? To me, it seems that there's a negative feedback loop of unease in the Japanese consciousness. The kind of loop that leads to discrimination. Just take this restaurant that went viral for their Japanese-only language policy. Here's what kind of results this sort of unease leads to. In the owner's words, "Yesterday, a white couple came into the restaurant and I told them that I could not help them if they did not understand Japanese. They looked at me blankly and asked in English, 'No English menu?' And I answered with no in Japanese. This is Japan. If I went to an English-speaking country, I would speak English. In Japan, you should try to speak Japanese. If you can't, bring an interpreter. I'm taking applications, just hit me up by the way." But seriously, as an American, I appreciate visitors learning English, but I don't think that getting ignorant with people that don't is an aspect of our culture you should be stealing. He claims the reason he put up the sign is because foreign customers are bad for business. They don't spend as much money and they take longer to serve. Now that second point might have you thinking, those foreigners should just learn Japanese. Or, hey, they can just use Google Translate. Well, good luck with that. This restaurant requires you to write down your order by hand. And to be honest, sometimes Japanese menus can just be impossible to translate. This kind of thing almost seems by design to keep out foreigners. It makes you wonder, Is the owner really doing what's best for business, or is he just justifying his prejudices? Well, he's also the same kind of guy to say, I take a firm stand against shitty complaints. I yell back at customers when they yell at me, and I don't call cheap customers sir. But he's not alone. He also said, I have received criticism for my post, but I have also received many letters and DMs saying, you did it well. Which does seem like a sign that many Japanese feel that foreign visitors often just don't even really care about following the rules and do their own thing. And with record numbers, that number might just be on the rise. At least, that's what they're saying on Brain Rot Island. And according to this article, similar concerns were heard in the downtown area of the Oda Ward, where Haneda Airport is located. As the owner of an izakaya says, we haven't had any major problems so far, but there have been times when we had to explain the starter charge when paying the bill, or when we've had people get angry because we don't accept credit cards, and they have been very rude to us in English. Unlike restaurants in tourist areas, our restaurant is made up of local customers, so there are limits to what we can do. And by accepting first-time customers from overseas, there's a fear that regular customers may be turned away, he says. Fair concerns, but it's still disappointing to see more restaurants considering turning away foreign customers. And the problems of over-tourism continue. Like this spot for taking photos of Mount Fuji that recently got major popularity online. The reason for its virality, at least at first, is that it's a view of Mount Fuji sitting right behind a Lawson's, the internet icon and convenience store. The thing is, the area soon got way too popular, to the point where tourists were obstructing traffic, making a lot of noise, and leaving a ton of trash behind. So local authorities had to erect a blockade to prevent tourists from taking photos there. Now, I understand to some people, taking a picture that's been shot a million times is kind of lame. But I'm posting it on Instagram! And so what if the photo is of an old tired convenience store blocking Mount Fuji? I should be able to do that. But here we have hundreds of people leaving trash and blocking traffic, like a pack of wild raccoons, or I suppose in this case, tanuki. And with all of us internet people reporting on this thing, more tourists started showing up to take pictures of the blockade because of its infamy. I love the internet and its never-ending irony, but we can't even have the blockade because it was later reported that people were poking holes through the black mesh. Speaking of, made of a material like that, I guess it was meant to be more symbolic? A way to say, no, don't take pictures here? Or perhaps they were expecting disruptive tourists to follow the rules. Either way, these situations are evident of an escalating feud between the Japanese people and tourists. Now, I don't want to make this seem more troubling than it is, though. By all means, go and visit Japan. As far as I'm concerned, if you act like a regular person, you'll be treated with respect. And there's still a countless number of reasons to visit. For now, thanks for watching.